Okay, welcome back. Can you hear me? Check, check. I don't know. I don't know if I can be heard. I'm getting feedback here from the mic. I think, yeah, you know what? You can hear me. Okay. I'm sorry. I'm not an audio or video guy. I'm not an AV guy. So I don't really know what I'm doing. So how we doing out there? Today is Friday, the 15th of March. And I guess it's like any other Friday. There was some shit in the news today, though. The mass shooter out in New Zealand went to some mosques, 2 mosques, I guess. You could look it up if you'd like. March 15th, New Zealand shooter. You'll find all the information you want to know about it. So in that regard, it's not the greatest day. So we can all kind of thoughts and prayers, right? That's an interesting topic. If you look at AOC or Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez's Twitter, she tries to say that thoughts and prayers is an NRA talking point, an NRA deflection or something like that. She says thoughts and prayers are for deflecting the conversation away from real solutions. So I don't think I agree with that. But everybody's got their own opinion, so she can say what she wants. It's interesting though that she says that. So she says that type of if you say thoughts and prayers go out to the family of the survivors and that sort of thing, she says that's a distraction from real solutions. I've actually got it written right here. I have this. I just scribbled around in a couple of different areas, just something that was laying in my seat of my car when I was driving, and one of the things I wrote down was being solution oriented versus being problem oriented. And this is kind of where my sales experience comes in, and sales and customer service experience. I've learned over the years in working with people in a number of different businesses that it's more important to be solution oriented than it is to be problem oriented. If we're problem oriented, you see this throughout the world where people, their thought process is derived from the problem. And I don't really have much to say about that. It's a lot of opinionated BS that I want to say. For example, if all of your thoughts are coming derived from the problem, then you're probably not being very creative about how to get out of it. So I think that somebody like AOC is a problem-oriented person, and you can see that in the way that she communicates. Then again, a lot of the communication that I've seen out of her, unless I've watched it on C-SPAN feeds, a lot of it is spoon-fed with the hand of a conservative or Republican point of view. Because when I see it from the other side, I completely reject it when I see it spun or when I see it spoon-fed from the liberal or the leftist agenda. When I see her comments are filtered through that orientation or that agenda or that filter, whatever you want to call it, it's hard to swallow. Just my 2 cents. It's also hard to swallow when it comes from the conservative base too. So I do my best to dive in. I've been accused a number of times over the last couple of years that I'm a conservative, which is fine. I think I do have conservative values. I also have liberal values. So it's all good one way or the other. But I think it's important for us to be solution oriented. And what do I mean by that? I mean that our thought process should be derived from the solutions of what we're facing and not the problems of what we're facing. I'm not saying that there's zero value in recognizing and diving in and understanding a problem better. But I think most problem-oriented people are looking to push blame and looking to corner a certain segment of society. I think it's true across the board. I don't think it's true for just leftists or just people on the right. I think it's true across the board. I think most people are trying to blame somebody. So how can I relate this to the world? Well, for me, when it comes to exercise and dieting and that sort of thing, I'm very self-aware of my weight and my health and that sort of thing, because every few years I throw my back out. But the worst problem I had was like 7 or 8 years ago. I threw my back out while playing golf, and I threw my back out between my shoulder blades, like the upper part of my back, not the lower part. So it's a very rare place to throw your back out. And so I lost a bunch of weight, and I did that by going to group workout classes through Herbalife, and met a great group of people and got real healthy, got real skinny. And so I'm hyper focused on my health and my weight and that sort of thing, because I believe they go hand in hand with the health of my spine. So, so we could call my weight, or my I have a food addiction. I think most of us are addicted to something, but the question is, number one, can you admit to what you're addicted to? And number two, are you aware of what you're addicted to? And so I think I'm aware. I don't think I can control it. So I definitely call it an addiction. So I got a food addiction, and I'm hyper focused on my health. And those can be problems. Food addiction specifically can be a problem. But if I sit around all day and I focus on it, I'm likely not going to find a way to get out of it, a creative solution. So what is solution-based thinking or solution-oriented thinking when thinking about my food addiction issue? Well, an easy solution for me is, that doesn't even answer the question, but I'll tell you, the easy solution for me is to keep myself busy. Keep myself busy, doing things that keep my mind elsewhere. It's when I become bored, that's when I start to eat. And so what is solution-oriented thinking or solution-based thinking? Just means that you're willing to put all the solutions on the table and entertain them. Lots of different variables. Your life can go in many different directions when you wake up in the morning, based on the decisions that you make. So I think it's important for us to focus on solutions rather than focus on the problems. So yeah, it's just one of the things I wrote down. Another thing I wrote down was something I think might be increasingly important moving forward in this world, especially given the hateful and really evil attacks in the world today, and not just today, but all over the world. Just a couple of weeks ago, there was, I don't know how many, I want to say between 20 and 30 Christians that were killed in Nigeria. Some religious-based slaughter. Of course, we didn't see that on the the MSM, mainstream media news, because mainstream media wants to push a certain agenda. So we didn't hear about these evil attacks out in Nigeria. And maybe if a news organization did run it, it just didn't get the traction. What gets the traction in mainstream media is when a white supremacist, slaughters a bunch of people for whatever reason. I don't know why that's such a popular story. Definitely goes along with the narrative of, a third of the country, maybe. I don't want to say half, because I don't think it's half. I think it's like a third or less of the country. But yeah, it's evil. It's hateful. It's disgusting. We should all condemn that type of hatred and that type of evil. There's no place for it in this world. I want to stop and clarify that, though. I say that there is no place for it in this world, but that comes from my perspective. Clearly, in the world of that guy, there was a place for it. So I guess we can go back to the problem being problem-oriented versus being solution-oriented. I'm not being problem-oriented if I want to dive into what causes an issue or what causes a person to be evil like that. I think I think trying to understand the issue is also part of being solution based. So we're being problem based or problem oriented in a situation like this is where you're like, you know, you start drilling down on the obvious. This guy was a white guy, this guy had weapons, this guy had um, nationalist point of views. Those are all kind of played out. Let's look a little deeper. Let's go a little deeper. So anyways, we probably don't have access to this guy's information, which is good. We don't want to glorify these people. I think it's stupid to glorify them. But with that being said, the other thing that I wrote down on this paper over here says exposing your identity group. And what does that mean? Well, that means that it's going to become increasingly necessary for all of us to expose the problems and the issues. Here we go again, problem oriented. Um, expose the problems within our identity group, expose the issues, expose the evil. So, what do I mean by identity group? Well, it's a game that the leftists like to play. It's a game that I shouldn't say leftists. It's really hard to I'm not condemning anybody. I'm saying that's the easiest way to describe people that are on the left side of the spectrum. An identity group is a group of people that you belong to based on your identity. And it's not your personal identity, it's how society identifies you from my point of view. And I didn't take any politics classes, I didn't go to college for all this stuff. So I apologize if I get it wrong, but this is my understanding of it. An identity group is a group of people that you belong to, not based on your own identity, because you can identify as something that you're not, but it's based on how society sees you. So as I walk outside right now, society sees me as a white, cisgendered, which means I identify with the gender that I was born with, heterosexual male. So when I say we need to expose our identity group or expose the hatred within our identity group, I think it's necessary for, uh, for white people to expose white women, to expose other white women, for white men to expose other white men. Um, and why do I think it's necessary? And I might be wrong about this. It's just an idea that I had, something I jot down while I was driving. Because here's the deal. When you go across a section and as a white male, if I go and start talking about, Latina females, most people are going to reject my opinion. It's just the reality because I don't belong in that group. I've never lived that life. Uh, and this is all from other people's perspective. Remember, the identity group is how they identify you. So, I very well could have lived the life of a Latina female. Who knows? I don't. You never know somebody's backstory. I never did, but I'm saying that you never know who you run into. But if I go out and I criticize Latina females, nobody's going to take me seriously, and everybody's going to condemn me for, punching down. I think is a way to say it. That's a more of a comedy term, but in this case, I think it's relevant. But that being said, if I started criticizing another cisgendered white heterosexual male, nobody's going to have any issue with that. So, and that's fair game. That's fair ball, right? So I think it'd be good for black females, for example, or Asian men, white women to expose other white women, Instagram models to expose other Instagram models. Now, I don't mean like expose them, like dox them, like release their public information. No, that's not what I mean. And I don't mean them like hurt them or hurt their advertisers or hurt where their money's coming from. No, that's not what I mean. What I mean is, be just as hard on your own identity group as you are on the section of society that you're against. Right? So I know I'm going to talk in a lot of like generalizations, but for the most part, when somebody looks at me, And as I view the world, I hold some conservative values. Somebody could look at me and the cross on my hand and say that I'm, a religious person, maybe deeply Christian. Could be a way to look at it. Um, so, as people look at me and they identify me as this type of person, if I am able to go and say, well, look at these white males that are Christian, that hold conservative values. This is the issue that I see with them. And within our own party, group, pool of people, circle, whatever you want to call it, we are sort of policing our own. Now, don't get me wrong. Hey, it might be a bad idea. I'm just entertaining thoughts here. And I think it's important for us to have more conversation these days than not. So I don't know, might be a bad idea completely. But I think there could be some merit and there could be some power in exposing our own identity groups, because we have power within our own group. For example, if I was in a circle of all cisgendered white heterosexual males and we were all sitting there, smoking cigars and drinking bourbon or scotch, or I don't know what people see these people do. Golfing. There you go. We're all golfing. And then all of a sudden some 16-year-old white girl comes into the group and starts telling us about how bad of men we are, and that sort of thing. You can imagine that they're probably not going to take that young female very seriously, But if I, within my own group, was like, yeah, well, Frank's an idiot because Frank did X, Y, and Z, that group would see a little more value, a little more weight in what I had to say. So I don't know, it's something I was thinking about. So anyway, yeah, I'm going to get better at this. We're almost at 20 minutes. I don't have any followers right now, which is good because I probably don't have very entertaining videos. And if I could allow it, I would take a call on my phone during the video, So that would be cool if we could pull that off somehow and actually have like a real conversation. I got another mic right here. I just put the phone up to the other mic. I don't know. We'll figure it out. I'll figure it out someday. So this is going to be a video that we look back on and laugh, I think. Or not. We may not laugh at all. We might cry about it because it's horrible. It's actually not that horrible. There's some thought-provoking ideas, Mr. Wesley. So anyway, all right, talk to you guys later. Now, how do I turn this off?